Hey guys, tonight we travel to a land of golden sands and cosmic grudges, where the gods have more drama than a primetime reality show, and getting unfollowed meant getting your face chiseled off a 5-ton block of granite. We are journeying back, deep into the bronze-dusted haze of ancient Egypt, to a time when one man decided the entire religious operating system of his civilization needed a hard reboot. He was history's first great disruptor, a spiritual influencer who tried to force a server-wide update on a pantheon that had been running on the same software for over 1,000 years. This is the story of the Pharaoh who tried to delete God, plural, and replace him with God, singular, and in the process got himself deleted from history. This is the story of history's first, and perhaps most thorough, case of cancel culture. If you enjoy this sort of descent into historical madness, where we treat 1,000-year-old empires with the casual reverence of a late-night talk show, consider liking the video. If you want more, maybe subscribe. And if you feel compelled, leave a comment telling me which ancient deity you'd unfollow first, and why. But you know, only if you actually enjoy this. No pressure. So, go on. Dim the lights. Turn on a fan, or whatever your preferred atmospheric hum generator might be. Get comfortable. Let the world outside fade away. Have you ever had a brilliant idea at 3 a.m. that seemed destined to change the world, only to realize in the morning that it would involve alienating all your friends, family, and the entire national economy? Have you ever wondered what the ancient Egyptian equivalent of an awkward family dinner was like? Especially when your dad is a living god and your wife is considered the most beautiful woman in the known world. What do you talk about over roasted duck? The chariot traffic? Did pharaohs get imposter syndrome? Did they stand in front of a giant statue of themselves and think, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I hope the Sphinx doesn't notice? What's the proper protocol for telling an entire civilization that the gods they've worshipped for millennia, the crocodile-headed, the ibis-headed, the cat goddess of good vibes, are all being laid off, effective immediately? Do you send out a memo on a papyrus scroll? Congratulations, you've just woken up in ancient Egypt, around 1353 BC. The air is thick with the scent of lotus blossoms, baking bread, and a palpable sense of institutional anxiety. The old king, the magnificent Amenhotep III, is gone. His son, well, his son has some ideas. Someone's legacy is about to get a complete rewrite, and someone else's is about to be deleted from the server, permanently. Good luck. Before you can try to change the world, you need to understand the world you're trying to change. And the world of 14th century BC Egypt is crowded. Divinely crowded. Imagine a celestial bureaucracy so vast and so specialized that there's a god for the river, a god for the sky, a god for writing, a god for beer, and probably a minor deity in charge of preventing your sandals from breaking. This wasn't just a religion. It was a cosmic franchise with a deity for every conceivable niche market, and business was booming. The divine organizational chart is a thing of bewildering beauty. At the top, you have your executive board, the A-listers of the pantheon. Ra, the sun god, is the eternal chairman, though his influence can sometimes wane depending on the theological season. Osiris is the solemn, respected CEO of the underworld division, a highly profitable and eternally growing enterprise. His sister wife, the brilliant and magically gifted Isis, is the chief operating officer, the one who actually knows how everything works and holds it all together through sheer competence. Their son, Horus, the falcon-headed god, is the ambitious young executive in charge of the terrestrial pharaoh portfolio, a perpetual intern king waiting to inherit the top job. For you, a person living and breathing the thick, fertile air of the Nile Valley, this isn't some abstract concept. This is your daily user interface for reality. You don't just vaguely worship the gods. You maintain a carefully curated portfolio of divine specialists. When you wake, you give a respectful nod to Khepri, the dung beetle god in charge of the sun's morning startup sequence. If you're a brewer, you might leave an offering for Tenenit, the goddess of beer, to ensure your batch doesn't go sour. Worried about scorpions in the house? You've got a small amulet of circuit on a string around your neck. It's a divine app store where there is, quite literally, a god for that, and you need the right one for the right task. You wouldn't pray to the god of brickmaking to heal your sick child, just as you wouldn't call your plumber to fix your Wi-Fi. It's just common sense. Your home has a small niche in the wall, a little shrine that functions as a kind of spiritual router, connecting your mortal existence to the grand divine network. You leave small offerings there, a sliver of bread from your morning meal, a drop of beer from your cup. It's not just worship, it's a cosmic maintenance fee to keep the universe running smoothly. To step into one of the grand state temples is to experience this system on an industrial scale. The air inside is cool and still, a welcome relief from the searing sun. It's thick with the scent of frankincense, roasting meat, and 1,000 years of uninterrupted ritual. Priests in stark white linen glide silently over stone floors, their faces serene and professional. The only light flickers from oil lamps, casting long, dancing shadows on walls, covered in a dizzying array of divine board meetings, celestial legal battles, and a lot of very serious-looking animals. This sprawling, multifaceted system is your insurance policy for everything. The Book of the Dead is not a sacred text you read for comfort. It's a ridiculously complex, step-by-step instruction manual for navigating the bureaucratic nightmare of the afterlife. A series of gates, passwords, and divine bouncers you have to get past. It's complicated, it's expensive, and it might seem gloriously inefficient. But it works. It has worked for centuries. It provides order, it provides answers, and it provides a comforting sense of structure in a world filled with chaos, crocodiles, and the ever-present anxiety of a bad harvest. Everyone knows their place. Every god has a job description, and every aspect of life, from farming to childbirth, is divinely regulated. It is the spiritual equivalent of a government that has been in power for a millennium, deeply entrenched, universally accepted, and making a select group of people very, very rich. In the grand marketplace of Egyptian faith, the priests of Amun-Ra weren't just running a popular temple, they owned the entire divine stock exchange. Based in the capital city of Thebes, they were a mixture of the Vatican, Wall Street, and a very exclusive country club with a multi-millennia-long waiting list. They controlled more land, more gold, and more political influence than anyone except the Pharaoh himself. And frankly, some days, that last part was up for debate. The rise of the Amun-Ra Corporation was a masterclass in divine mergers and acquisitions. Originally, Amun was just the quiet, local god of Thebes, a minor player in the Pantheon's minor leagues. But then, in a stroke of theological genius, he was strategically fused with the ancient and universally revered sun god, Ra. It was a hostile takeover of the heavens. He became Amun-Ra, the undisputed king of the gods, the divine equivalent of your favorite local coffee shop, suddenly acquiring every Starbucks on the planet. His brand recognition went through the stratosphere, and his temple became the center of the known universe. Their corporate headquarters is the Temple of Karnak. To even call it a temple feels like a profound understatement. It is a sprawling city-state of faith, a stone metropolis that has been under continuous construction for centuries, with each pharaoh adding a new pylon or obelisk, like a CEO adding a new wing to the corporate campus. As you, the young prince, Walk through its gates. You pass between rows of ram-headed sphinxes, the company's stoic, silent security team. You enter the great hypostyle hall, a dense forest of 134 colossal stone pillars, so vast and so high that the ceiling dissolves into sacred darkness. The air is cool and heavy, thick with the scent of kaiphai, a complex sacred incense that smells like power, secrets, and a very healthy profit margin. Every available surface is covered in meticulously carved hieroglyphs that are less a prayer and more a divine annual report, listing centuries of successful campaigns, profitable acquisitions, and generous donations from satisfied royal clients. And what a business model it is. By your time, the Amun-Ra Corporation is the single largest landowner in Egypt, possessing vast agricultural estates worked by thousands of people. They own fleets of ships that ply the Nile and the Mediterranean, sprawling herds of cattle, and the rights to some of the most lucrative mines in the eastern desert. When your father, the Pharaoh, returns from a glorious military campaign, where does a massive portion of the captured gold, silver, and valuable timber go? Straight into the vaults of Amun-Ra as a pious donation. It is a cosmic protection racket with impeccable public relations. The high priest of Amun is the CEO of this entire operation. He is not just a man in a ceremonial leopard skin robe. He is one of the most formidable figures in the empire. He advises the Pharaoh, commands an army of lesser priests, scribes, and administrators, and, most importantly, he interprets the will of the god himself. When a critical decision of state needs to be made, the Pharaoh consults the oracle of Amun. A golden statue of the god, carried on the shoulders of his priests, will mysteriously nod or turn, or otherwise indicate a divine decision. And you have to wonder, watching from the incense-choked shadows, is it the god moving the statue, or the priests moving the god? You see this immense power every day. It's a system so enormous, so wealthy, and so deeply embedded in the very soul of Egyptian life that it feels as permanent as the Nile itself. To challenge it wouldn't just be heresy. It would be like trying to disrupt gravity. And you, the quiet prince, are beginning to think that's a business ripe for a revolution. You are born into this world of cosmic bureaucracy and immense wealth, not as the CEO, but as a quiet, thoughtful kid in the back of the boardroom. You are Prince Amenhotep, son of the mighty Amenhotep III, a pharaoh so successful and opulent they called him the Magnificent. While your father is out building colossal statues and enjoying the fruits of a stable empire, you are different. You are the introspective, artistic type, more interested in the nature of light than the politics of the court. Your father's palace complex at Malkata is the glittering center of the world, a permanent high-stakes gala on the west bank of the Nile. The air in its halls is thick with the scent of lotus blossoms and expensive imported cedar, mingling with the murmurs of Hittite envoys and the rustle of Minoan silks. Gold is not a decoration. It is a building material. The background noise is a constant pleasant hum of political gossip in a half-dozen languages, all set to the soft strumming of a lyre. Your father, Amenhotep the Magnificent, presides over it all with the easy, unshakable confidence of a man who has never known a major defeat. He is the chairman of an empire at its absolute zenith, a master of diplomacy, and a builder of monuments so vast they seem to challenge the gods. And then there's you. You find the endless state banquets tedious, the ritualized lion hunts, a cornerstone of royal public relations, strike you as pointlessly loud and performative. While other young nobles are practicing their chariot skills and debating the logistics of Syrian military campaigns, you are more likely to be found in a quiet palace garden, watching the way the sunlight filters through the leaves of a sycamore tree. You are thinking. You are observing. To the bustling, pragmatic court, this behavior is deeply confusing. You are, for all intents and purposes, the royal family's strange, artistic goth kid, the one who doesn't seem to understand that the whole point of being a prince is to enjoy the perks of the family business, not to have an existential crisis about it. For most of your youth, this is perfectly acceptable. You are not, after all, the designated heir. That role belongs to your older brother, Crown Prince Thutmose. He is the one being groomed for the throne, the one who takes his duties seriously, even becoming a high priest of Ptah and preparing to follow in your father's gilded footsteps. You are the spare, the royal backup plan, which affords you the glorious freedom to be weird. No one pays too much attention to the quiet second son who seems more interested in poetry than in power. But then, the universe throws a wrench into the dynastic machine. Prince Thutmose dies unexpectedly, and suddenly the entire crushing weight of the 18th dynasty swivels and lands directly on your slender shoulders. The whispers in the court change their tone. The priests of Amun-Ra, who once dismissed you, now watch you with a new, calculating intensity. You have just received the most significant and unwanted promotion in the entire empire. The quiet kid from the back of the room has just been named the next CEO, and the established board of directors is starting to get visibly nervous. They have good reason to be. Your fascination with the sun is not just a passing artistic fancy. It's becoming a philosophical obsession. You look up at the sky, and you don't see Ra, the familiar falcon-headed god sailing his divine boat. You see the thing itself, the physical disk, which you call the Aten. You see it not as a being, but as a universal force, the singular, impartial source of all heat, all light, and all life. A power that shines not just on Egypt, but on Nubia, on Syria, on everyone, equally. It's an idea so radical, so dangerously simple, that it threatens to burn the entire, carefully constructed divine corporation to the ground. The quiet kid has been doing his homework, and he's about to present a new business plan that involves firing almost everyone. Every pharaoh needs a great royal wife, a partner to rule beside them and project an image of divine harmony. But you don't just get a queen, you get Nefertiti. Her name means the beautiful one has come, and it's less a name and more a statement of fact that no one dares to dispute. She isn't just a political marriage or a pretty face on a temple wall. She is your intellectual equal, your spiritual partner in crime, and the other half of what will become a world-altering power couple. Let's be clear, the position of great royal wife has always been a prestigious one. It comes with impressive titles, vast estates, and a respectable amount of soft power. But traditionally, it is a supporting role. The queen is the vessel for the next generation of the dynasty, the chief administrator of the sprawling royal household, the serene feminine counterpart to the pharaoh's active masculine power. That is the established job description. Nefertiti, it seems, never bothered to read that memo. When she enters a room, the entire atmosphere shifts. Seasoned foreign envoys who have stared down Hittite armies suddenly forget the Akkadian words for "my king." Grizzled old priests who have managed the Amun-Ra corporation for half a century find themselves momentarily flustered. Her famous painted bust, with its impossibly graceful neck and serene, almost unnervingly confident gaze, is not an artist's flattery. It is a mission statement carved in limestone. Her name is not just a name. It is the headline announcing her arrival on the world stage. She has an impeccable personal brand and a conveniently vague resume. Her exact parentage is still debated by historians, which only adds to her mystique. She is not merely beautiful, she is formidable. Crucially, she doesn't just tolerate your strange, burgeoning ideas about the sun. She is their most fervent and essential advocate. She is the first and most important convert to the cause of the Aten. With her standing at your side, your singular obsession feels less like the philosophical ramblings of an isolated, eccentric prince, and more like the foundational doctrine of a brave new world. She isn't just supporting your vision, she is co-writing the script. You are the co-founders of a divine startup, and you're about to take your company public, forcing the entire nation to invest. This radical partnership is immediately reflected in the art you commission. On the walls of your new temples, she is not depicted standing demurely behind you or on a smaller, subservient scale. She is your equal in size and prominence. She wears her own unique blue crown, an icon of her personal authority. She is shown leading worship, making offerings directly to the Aten without you as an intermediary. In some truly revolutionary images, she is even shown in the classic pharaonic pose of smiting Egypt's enemies. This is the ancient Egyptian equivalent of the First Lady being depicted in the command center, launching the fleet. It is a visual declaration that this is not a monarchy, it is a divine co-presidency. Together, you and Nefertiti, along with your daughters, become the sole trinity, the exclusive link between all of humanity and your new god. The Aten does not speak to priests or prophets. It shines upon you, and you too speak for it. You have made yourselves the exclusive gatekeepers of salvation. Taking on 1,000 years of religious tradition and the wealthiest priesthood in the world is a daunting, almost suicidal task for one person. But for a divine power couple, the original celebrity A-listers with a direct line to the creator of the universe, suddenly, the odds don't seem quite so impossible. Your religious revolution doesn't start with a bang. It starts with a flicker. You begin to elevate a minor aspect of the sun god Ra, a deity known as the Aten, represented not as a man with a falcon's head, but simply as the physical disk of the sun itself. It's a subtle shift. You're not firing the old gods just yet. You're just heavily promoting a new, rather abstract-looking manager and giving him a corner office with a really great view. You are a pharaoh, after all, and you understand that true power lies in navigating the existing bureaucracy. A direct, frontal assault on the Amun-Ra Corporation and its deeply entrenched divine portfolio would be dynastic suicide. So, you find a loophole in the divine contract. The theological fine print has for centuries associated the great god Ra with the power of the sun. You simply decide to take that very, very literally, and with a minimalist's eye for branding. You strip away the mythology, the falcon head, the solar boat, the nightly battle with the serpent of chaos. You distill the entire, sprawling concept down to its purest, most undeniable form, the physical, visible disk of the sun in the sky, the Aten. It's a genius bit of legal maneuvering within the cosmic system. In the first few years of your reign, you play the part. You are still Amenhotep IV, and you dutifully perform the public rituals. You attend the festivals. You tick the traditional religious boxes. But in the background, you launch your passion project. It's the quiet, internal beta test of your new spiritual operating system. You begin to commission art that features the Aten more and more prominently. Its rays are depicted ending in small, delicate hands, offering the Ankh, the symbol of life, directly to you and to Nefertiti. The coded message is subtle, but for those paying attention, it's crystal clear. The gift of life comes not from a complex pantheon mediated by priests, but directly from the source. Your most audacious early move is architectural. You decide the Aten needs a proper place of worship. and you decide to build it in the one location, guaranteed to cause the most institutional heartburn imaginable, right on the sacred home turf of Amun-Ra. You commission a massive temple complex dedicated to the Aten at Karnak. This is not just a gentle promotion. This is the ancient equivalent of building a sleek, hyper-modern tech campus right in the middle of the Vatican's central plaza. You are planting your flag directly in the heart of the old empire, a deliberate and magnificent provocation disguised as an act of piety. And the design of the temple itself is a declaration of war. For centuries, Egyptian temples have been places of manufactured mystery, a series of progressively darker, more exclusive halls leading to a small, pitch-black sanctuary where the god's idol was kept, accessible only to the highest-ranking priests. Your new Aten temple, which you call the Jempa Aten, the Aten is found, is the exact opposite. It is a series of vast, open-air courtyards, completely without a roof. It is a space designed to be flooded with the very thing you worship, pure, unfiltered, democratic sunlight. There is no dark inner sanctum, no hidden statue, because the god is not a relic to be kept in a box. The god is right there, blazing above you, for everyone to see and feel equally. This is more than a new design trend. It's a fundamental threat to the entire religious business model. By removing the roof, you have symbolically removed the need for the priests as middlemen. If any citizen can simply walk into a courtyard and experience the divine presence directly, what is the purpose of the secretive elite class who claim to be the exclusive gatekeepers to the gods? The priests of Amun-Ra are not fools. They can read architectural blueprints as well as they can read hieroglyphs. They see the new manager you've promoted, and they see him building a whole new, far more efficient corporate headquarters right in their parking lot. The subtle phase of your revolution is about to come to a very abrupt end. It's one thing to have some new religious ideas. It's another thing to change your name and your entire public identity to match them. You decide that Amenhotep, which means Amun is satisfied, is horribly off-brand. It has the name of your priesthood's biggest rival right there in it. So you change it. You become Akhenaten, meaning effective for the Aten. This isn't just changing your Twitter handle. It's deleting your old account and launching a new, highly controversial personal brand, live, in front of the entire country. In the world you inhabit, a pharaoh's name is not just a convenient label to tell him apart from his various relatives. It is a program. It is a mission statement, a piece of divine branding that will be etched into stone 1,000,000 times over. It is a cosmic compact between the ruler and the forces that sustain the nation. To change it is to fundamentally alter the terms of service for reality itself. For the first 5 years of your reign, you have been Amenhotep IV. It's a good name, a strong dynastic name. Your father was an Amenhotep. Your grandfather was an Amenhotep. It's the established family brand. But it has one glaring, fatal flaw. Every time a herald shouts it, every time a scribe carves it, they are giving a free promotional plug to your chief rival, the god Amun. Having Amun embedded in your royal title is like being the CEO of Apple, while your legal name is Bill Gates is wonderful. It's confusing. It undermines the message. So, around year 5 of your rule, the subtle phase ends. The beta test is over. You push the final, irreversible update to the national server. You are no longer Amenhotep. You are Akhenaten. Let's break down the sheer, calculated audacity of this move. Your old name celebrated a state of being. Amun is satisfied. It was passive. It suggested contentment, a comfortable relationship with the existing divine power structure. Your new name, Akhenaten, is a job description. He who is effective for the Aten, or the spirit of the Aten. It is active. It is a promise of direct service to one, and only one, divine entity. You have single-handedly redefined your role from a god-king presiding over a pantheon to a divine agent with a singular, all-powerful client. And in doing so, you have elevated yourself beyond the reach of the old priesthood. You don't work for their god anymore. You have a new employer. The change sends a quiet, panicked shockwave through the bureaucracy of Thebes. Scribes, trained from childhood to flawlessly render the sacred cartouche of Amenhotep, now have to learn a new set of hieroglyphs. Heralds have to practice the unfamiliar pronunciation. Courtiers must be exceptionally careful not to slip up and use the dead name in your presence. A slip of the tongue that would suddenly feel very, very treasonous. For the priests of Amun, this is the ultimate public humiliation. It is a formal, unequivocal declaration that their services, and indeed their god, are no longer required. The king has officially unfollowed Amun, and he's changed his entire profile to prove it. This is the moment you click Delete Account on your old life. A little papyrus pop-up appears in your mind. Are you sure you want to permanently erase the legacy of Amenhotep IV? This action cannot be undone. And you click Confirm. You are no longer just the product of a system. You are the self-declared founder of a new one. It's a bold, clean, and terrifying break. You have successfully rebranded yourself. Now comes the hard part, rebranding the entire country. And that is going to require a much bigger marketing budget and a brand new corporate headquarters. You've decided the old capital of Thebes is toxic. The vibes are off. It's filled with temples to the old gods and priests who keep giving you the side eye. The only logical solution is to pack up the entire government, the royal court, and a few thousand of your closest followers, and move to the middle of the desert. You point to a desolate stretch of sand, halfway between Thebes and Memphis, and declare that this is where the Aten itself has chosen your new capital. You will call it Akhenaten, the horizon of the Aten. To be fair, Thebes is getting a little cramped, existentially speaking. Every street has a shrine to a god you have effectively made redundant. The entire skyline is dominated by the colossal stone pylons of Karnak, the corporate headquarters of the priesthood you are actively trying to bankrupt. Trying to launch a spiritual revolution from Thebes is like trying to start a minimalist tech company from the cluttered basement of a 19th century bank. The atmosphere is just not conducive to your new brand. You need a clean slate, a blank canvas, scrubbed clean by the desert wind, free from the ghosts of pantheons past. So you gather your court, board the royal barges, and sail north along the Nile. You are not just scouting for a new piece of real estate. You are seeking a divine sign, a cosmic seal of approval for your audacious plan. And one morning, in a vast, desolate bay, ringed by limestone cliffs, you find it. You watch as the sun, your father the Aten, rises perfectly in a notch in the eastern cliffs, its shape at that moment mirroring the Akhet hieroglyph, the symbol for horizon. For you, this is it. It is the universe sending you a personalized, engraved invitation. This is the place. You make it official in the grandest way possible. You order your artisans to carve massive billboard-sized monuments directly into the cliff faces surrounding the site. These 14 boundary stelae are your divine deed to the land. They are a formal declaration, a cosmic zoning permit from the highest possible authority, outlining the sacred borders of your future city. In them, you swear a great and solemn oath that you and your family will never pass beyond these boundaries, that this place, and this place alone, will be the eternal center of your universe. You are not asking for permission from any earthly authority. You are informing the landscape of its new and glorious purpose. Now comes the truly enjoyable part. informing your staff. You must convince the entire royal court, the government ministries, the military high command, and tens of thousands of scribes, architects, artisans, and their families to abandon their comfortable ancestral homes in the vibrant capital and move immediately to a massive construction site in the middle of absolutely nowhere. The royal memo is essentially, "Good news, everyone. We're all moving to the desert. It has fantastic natural light and an unbeatable view of the sand. Please begin packing. This is a mandatory corporate relocation to our new global headquarters. Your compliance is appreciated and also not optional. There is no debate. There is no vote. You are not suggesting a move. You are issuing a system-wide, non-negotiable directive. This is perhaps the ultimate power move. With a single, divinely inspired declaration, you render the ancient and glorious capital of Thebes obsolete and initiate the largest and fastest urban development project the ancient world has ever seen. You have found your holy land and staked your claim. Now, you just have to build an entire civilization on it, from scratch, preferably before the supplies run out and everyone realizes you've brought them to the hottest place on earth, specifically to worship the sun. With a new god and a new city comes a new aesthetic. You instruct your royal artist to throw out the rulebook that has defined Egyptian art for 1,500 years. Gone are the heroic, idealized pharaohs with perfect physiques. The new style is shockingly intimate, strangely elongated, and almost alien. You are depicted not as a distant, perfect god-king, but with a long face, wide hips, and a prominent belly. It's a bold, artistic statement that says, "This is reality," or possibly, "I've invented surrealism 3,000 years early." To understand how truly seismic this shift is, you have to appreciate the old artistic rulebook. For over a millennium, Egyptian art has been the gold standard of consistency. It was governed by a strict canon of proportions, a mathematical grid system that dictated every line and every angle. Its goal was never realism. Its goal was a kind of divine perfection. The pharaoh was always shown in his physical prime, with heroic shoulders, a narrow waist, and muscles so flawless they looked like they were personally carved by the gods. It was the ultimate set of corporate branding guidelines, timeless, unchanging, and reassuringly infallible. You didn't commission a portrait of a man. You commissioned a logo of divine stability. You take that entire book of rules, which has successfully guided the most stable artistic tradition in human history, and you calmly set it on fire. You gather your royal sculptors and painters, men who have trained their entire lives to master the comforting certainty of the grid, and you give them a new, terrifyingly vague directive. Portray the world and your pharaoh in accordance with truth. The result is an art style that remains startling and controversial to this day. The artists, perhaps a little too enthusiastically, take your command for truth and run with it into very strange, fluid territory. Your official royal portraits and statues feature a dramatically elongated skull, a long, slender neck, and thin, almost spidery limbs. But this strange, otherworldly top half is paired with a soft, pendulous belly, wide, curvaceous hips, and heavy thighs. You have, in essence, rejected the traditional superhero physique of your ancestors and proudly debuted the world's first divine dad bod. This distinctive house style is applied to everyone in your family. Nefertiti is depicted with the same sensuous curves, and your young daughters are shown as miniature versions of you both, with the same elongated skulls, looking like adorable, pot-bellied royal aliens. Even more revolutionary is the subject matter. You effectively throw open the palace doors to your artists. The reliefs show you and Nefertiti in moments of casual, unprecedented intimacy. You are shown kissing one of your daughters, while another perches on Nefertiti's lap. You are depicted relaxing at a meal, grieving the death of a child, and basking in the rays of the Aten as a family unit. This is the invention of the royal reality show, keeping up with the Akhenatens. You are no longer just a distant divine symbol of power. You are a husband and a father, and you want the whole world to see it. The great, lingering question, of course, is why? Were you deliberately cultivating a new, otherworldly look to separate your holy family from mere mortals? Was it a profound theological statement, an attempt to show that you, as the sole earthly vessel of the creative Aten, embodied both the male and female principles of creation in one body? Or, as some historians have long speculated, did you actually look like this? Perhaps due to a genetic condition. We may never know for sure. But by embracing this strange, androgynous, and startlingly candid new style, you ensured one thing. No one in history would ever forget what you looked like, even if they had absolutely no idea what they were looking at. Inside your new city, you codify your beliefs. You compose the great hymn to the Aten, a piece of religious literature so profound and so focused on a single, universal creator God that it feels impossibly modern. It's a declaration that the Aten is not just the god of Egypt, but the god of everyone, the Syrians, the Nubians, all of humanity, creator of all life. It's a beautiful sentiment, and also a formal pink slip to every other god on the payroll. Your new city of Akhenaten is the gleaming new hardware you have built in the desert. Now, you need to install the official operating system. This hymn, which you have inscribed for posterity on the tomb wall of a high-ranking courtier named A, is that software. It is your manifesto, your inaugural address, and the new corporate mission statement for reality itself, all rolled into one profoundly beautiful and deeply subversive piece of poetry. What makes it so revolutionary is not just what it says, but what it strategically leaves out. Gone are the convoluted divine backstories, the celestial soap operas of gods being born, murdered, dismembered, and eventually resurrected. Gone are the epic battles with chaos serpents and the squabbles between divine siblings. You have effectively rebooted the entire, messy, lore-heavy franchise with a single, elegant, and startlingly realistic origin story. The hymn simply observes the world as it is. When the sun sets, it says, the earth grows dark, as in death, and lions emerge from their lairs to hunt. When the sun rises, the world awakens. The two lands of Egypt are in festival. Boats sail the Nile. Fish leap from the water, and humanity goes about its daily work. It is a theology based not on ancient myth, but on direct, verifiable, daily observation. In this new, wonderfully streamlined cosmology, there is simply no room for the old, specialized gods. The hymn is a masterclass in divine downsizing. Every single job previously held by a member of the pantheon is now credited solely to the Aten, who creates the Nile's inundation, the Aten, who makes the crops grow, the Aten, who differentiates the seasons, forms the baby in the womb, and gives it the breath of life. The Aten, the Aten, the Aten. Every beautiful line is a poetic and brutal dismissal of another god's entire reason for being. It is a glowing letter of recommendation for your one chosen deity, and by implication, a termination notice for everyone else. Dear Osiris, thank you for your millennia of service in the afterlife department. We're moving in a new direction. The Aten handles all life and death now. Best of luck in your future endeavors. But the hymn's most radical and mind-bending idea is its sheer scale. Amun-Ra was the king of the gods, but he was primarily the god of the Egyptian empire. Your Aten is different. It shines on distant lands, the hymn says, and makes them live. It creates different languages, different skin colors, and even a Nile in the sky, rain, for foreign peoples. This is the spiritual invention of the global village. You are declaring that the divine creative force does not play favorites. It is a universal truth, equally available to everyone. There is, however, one very important catch, one crucial line of code in this new, open-source religion. While the Aten is for everyone, there is only one person on the entire planet who truly knows and understands it. You. The hymn states it plainly and without ambiguity. There is no other who knows you, save your son, Akhenaten. The god may be universal, but you are the only one with the admin password. It is a breathtakingly clever maneuver. You've created the most inclusive religion in the world, and simultaneously made yourself the sole, indispensable gatekeeper. It is a beautiful poem, and it is the most ruthless consolidation of power imaginable, written in the prettiest possible language. Your religious reform now escalates into a full-blown revolution. It's no longer enough to just promote the Aten. You must actively dismantle the competition. You dispatch agents across Egypt with a chillingly simple task. Erase the name of Amun-Ra. Chisel it from every temple, every monument, every public inscription. Then you go further, erasing the plural word gods itself. You are not just unfollowing the old deities, you are trying to wipe their very memory from the kingdom's hard drive. The time for clever loopholes and subtle architectural provocations is over. The soft launch of your new religion was a success in your eyes, and now it is time to force the mandatory update on all users. Your mission is no longer one of promotion, but of purification. The national consciousness is a garden, you have decided, and it is overrun with weeds. It is time to start pulling them out by the root, even if those roots are 2,000 years old and anchored in the very soul of your people. You send out teams of royal stonemasons, armed with copper chisels, heavy mallets, and a terrifyingly clear divine mandate. They are your content moderation team for reality itself. Their task is simple and brutal. They are to travel the entire length of the Nile, from the humid floodplains of the delta to the sun-baked granite quarries of the southern border, and execute a divine find and replace command on the physical substance of the nation. Find the name of Amun-Ra. Replace with a hacked-out empty scar in the stone. Imagine the sound. The vast, silent halls of the Temple of Karnak, once filled with the resonant chanting of Amun's priests, are now filled only with the sharp, rhythmic clink, clink, clink of 100 chisels chipping away at history. A fine dust of desecrated limestone hangs in the air, catching the brilliant light of the Aten as it streams into the now empty courtyards. Colossal statues of Amun are toppled and defaced. His name is meticulously ground out from the tops of 100-foot obelisks and the bottoms of tiny personal scarab seals. Even the name of your own deified father, Amenhotep III, is targeted. The Amun part of his sacred name hacked away wherever it is found. No one is safe from this retroactive kingdom-wide edit of reality. This is, at its heart, a brutal political act. By erasing Amun, you are erasing the source of the Theban priesthood's immense authority and wealth. You are executing a hostile takeover by simply deleting the competitor's brand from existence. But then, your campaign takes a turn into a far stranger and more profound level of fanaticism. You are no longer satisfied with just deleting your primary rival from the marketplace of faith. You decide to delete the very concept of a marketplace. Your agents are given a new, even more abstract target: the hieroglyphs for Necheru, the plural word gods. The very idea that other divine beings might exist is now a form of treason against the light. They must go back over the temples, hunting for this single, dangerous word. It is the ancient equivalent of trying to erase a word from the dictionary by force. You are attempting to make your people not just monotheistic, but monoconceptual. There is one God, and the very language for describing anything else is now forbidden. You have seized the remote control for the entire nation, and you have hit the unsubscribe button. A celestial pop-up appears in the sky. Your subscription to the Pantheon has been cancelled. This action is permanent and cannot be undone. As your revolution deepens, Nefertiti's role expands. She is not just your queen. She is your co-regent, depicted in art with the same authority as you, even shown smiting Egypt's enemies, a pose traditionally reserved for the male pharaoh. You and she are the sole mediators between humanity and the Aten. You two are the only high priests. It's a cosmic two-person show, and the rest of the world is just the audience. In the old, messy theological system, the pharaoh was the primary bridge between the divine and the mortal. But your new religion is cleaner, more elegant, more symmetrical. The Aten, your universal creator, is a singular entity without gender, but its creative force requires both a male and female principle on earth to properly receive and channel its blessing. This is not just a convenient political arrangement. It becomes a core tenet of your new faith. You are the Adam of this new creation story, and Nefertiti is your indispensable Eve. Without her, the divine circuit is incomplete. You are not just a power couple. You are a theological necessity. This isn't just a theory you discuss in private. You carve it into every available surface for the entire world to see. In the art of your new city, Nefertiti is never your subordinate. She is not shown on a smaller, deferential scale, walking dutifully a few paces behind you. She is your equal. She stands beside you at the altar, wearing her own unique and powerful crown, making offerings of her own accord. Most shockingly, on the gate towers of the great Aten temple, she is depicted in the ultimate, definitive pose of pharaonic power, grasping a handful of foreign enemies by the hair, her arm raised to strike them down with a mace. This is the ancient world's most potent symbol of male military authority, the visual equivalent of the presidential seal combined with the logo for the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And you have given it to your wife. Together, you have seized complete and total control of the religious-industrial complex. You have effectively fired every priest in the kingdom by making their jobs entirely obsolete. In the vast, sun-drenched temples of Akhenaten, there are no legions of clergy performing secret rituals in dark, hidden chambers. There is only you, and there is Nefertiti, and your daughters standing before the Aten. You have made yourselves the exclusive providers of humanity's spiritual internet service. There are no other carriers. If you want a connection to the divine, you have to subscribe to the family plan. Her elevated status is even reflected in her name, which you officially expand to Neferuaten Nefertiti. Beautiful are the beauties of Aten. The beautiful one has come. It is a divine promotion, a new, upgraded job title that fully incorporates the corporate brand name. She is no longer just the power behind the throne. She is the second throne, pulled up right beside yours, with an equally good view of the cosmos. Without her, your revolution is just the singular, strange obsession of a radical king. With her, it becomes a balanced, cosmic system. It has a strange, beautiful, and absolute symmetry. You are a closed, perfect loop of divine authority, a partnership so complete and self-contained, It leaves no room for anyone else. You are the only two shareholders in a company that owns the universe, and there is absolutely no room for anyone else on the board of directors. The art from your new city of Amarna is shocking for its intimacy. You and Nefertiti are shown not in stiff, formal poses, but relaxing with your 6 daughters, kissing them, holding them on your laps. It's a carefully curated image of a perfect family, the first family of a new age. It feels like the ancient equivalent of a royal family's Instagram account, projecting an image of relatable, loving domesticity. The question is, was it real, or was it just very, very good marketing? Consider, for a moment, the traditional portrait of a pharaoh. He is a divine institution, a symbol of the state. He is shown smiting his enemies, communing with the gods, or standing in eternal, muscular perfection. He is a logo, not a person. You, on the other hand, are portrayed as a dad, a slightly oddly shaped but undeniably affectionate dad. On small limestone tablets, known as household stelae, you commission scenes of startling informality. There you are, lounging on a simple cushioned stool, your potbelly visible, dandling your eldest daughter Meritaten on your knee, and leaning in to give her a kiss. Across from you sits Nefertiti, your equal in every way, balancing 2 more of your young daughters on her lap. One of them playfully reaches up to touch her mother's earring. The whole scene is bathed in the rays of the Aten, whose little hands reach down to touch your faces, offering the gift of life. This wasn't just a one-off royal portrait, kept locked away in the palace. These stelae were mass-produced in the workshops of Akhenaten and distributed to the nobles, officials, and high-ranking citizens of your new city, to be placed in their own private household shrines. You have, in effect, invented the direct-to-consumer, subscription-based model for royal propaganda. Every loyal follower gets a state-sanctioned, beautifully carved image of the first family to venerate in their own home. It is, in every functional sense, a curated social media feed, and every single post is a sponsored ad for the Atenist lifestyle. Aten blessed dan Dutch family goals, dar horizon living. The marketing genius of this cannot be overstated. For the average Egyptian, the most important things in life were family, fertility, and the promise of creation. By plastering your new city with images of your own loving and, notably, extremely fertile family, you have 6 daughters, a fact the art never lets anyone forget. You are providing a powerful and tangible proof of concept for your new god. The message is simple and brilliant. Look how the Aten blesses us. Look at this love, this life, this abundance of children. This is what our God provides. This could be you. The royal family is no longer just ruling the country. It is influencing it, presenting an aspirational lifestyle brand that is both divinely remote and somehow completely relatable. But this brings us back to the central, uncomfortable question that lies at the heart of all influencer culture. A question you seem to have invented 3,300 years ahead of schedule. Is any of it actually real? Are these tender scenes of domestic bliss a genuine window into the soul of a loving family? A true expression of your new religion's focus on truth? Or is it a breathtakingly cynical and sophisticated propaganda campaign designed to humanize a radical, autocratic regime and sell a strange new god to a skeptical population by showing them a pretty picture? Is this love, or is it branding? The truth is, it was almost certainly both. You likely adored your famous wife and your many children, and at the same time, you understood the immense political power of that image. You were perhaps the first ruler in history to grasp that the most effective way to sell a new vision of heaven is to show people what you claim is a little piece of it right here on earth, perfectly framed, artfully lit, and widely distributed to all your loyal followers. while you are busy redesigning religion, art, and architecture. The rest of your empire is starting to get nervous. Vassal kings in Syria and Canaan send you frantic messages, inscribed on clay tablets, begging for soldiers and support as enemies close in. These Amarna letters reveal a pharaoh who seems completely disinterested in foreign affairs. The empire your father and grandfather built is fraying at the edges, but you're too busy contemplating the sunlight to notice. To be fair to your allies, they had grown accustomed to a certain level of customer service. Your father, Amenhotep III, was a master of the great game of international diplomacy. He treated the empire like a vast, delicate web, and he knew exactly which strands to pluck to keep the whole thing stable. He projected strength, showered his loyal vassals with gold, and kept the ambitious Hittite kingdom to the north in check through a careful balance of diplomacy and intimidation. You, on the other hand, have decided to dedicate your full and undivided attention to an intensive, multi-year corporate rebranding initiative, and you appear to have stopped answering the phone. The messages pile up in the Foreign Office at Akhenaten, a growing library of baked clay anxiety. These are the Amarna letters. They are written in Akkadian cuneiform, the clunky but universal language of diplomacy. They come from panicked local kings with names like Ribhadda of Byblos, a man whose correspondence suggests he was in a perpetual state of near-total hyperventilation. His letters, and dozens like them, all follow a similar, desperate template. They begin with paragraphs of lavish, formal flattery. To the king, my lord, my god, my son, the sun in the sky. And then immediately pivot to sheer, unadulterated panic. I have written to you again and again for soldiers, but you do not answer. The enemy is at the gates. My city is like a bird in a snare. For the love of the king, my lord, please just send a few archers. Are you getting my tablets? Is this thing on? Imagine a weary, dust-caked messenger arriving in your perfect, sun-drenched, orderly city after a perilous month-long journey. He hands over his precious, heavy clay tablet. A scribe in your administration painstakingly translates the tiny, wedge-shaped marks. The message is clear. A vital strategic asset on the northern border is about to be overrun by your rivals. This urgent intelligence report is dutifully written up on a clean papyrus scroll and sent to the royal palace, where it lands on a large and ever-growing pile of similar scrolls that you will get to eventually. Your divine inbox is overflowing with emails marked urgent, and you are methodically archiving them all without reading. You have ghosted your entire empire. While you are commissioning another beautiful relief of your family, enjoying a gentle breeze, the world your ancestors built is being dismantled piece by piece. Loyal alliances, cultivated over generations, are crumbling. Profitable trade routes are being threatened. The vassal states, realizing that their frantic calls to the imperial head office are going unanswered, are left with two stark choices: be conquered, or cut a deal with the new regional power, the Hittites, who are more than happy to take on new clients. This isn't a conscious decision to downsize the empire. From your lofty perspective, it's a matter of simple, cosmic triage. You are engaged in the most important project in the history of the universe, redefining humanity's relationship with its creator. The petty squabbles of Canaanite city-states are just noise, irrelevant distractions from the great work. It's difficult to focus on the stability of your northern border when you're busy staring directly into the heart of the sun. Around year 12 of your reign, something strange happens. The most powerful and visible woman in the world, Nefertiti, simply vanishes from all official records. One day, she is co-ruler, her image everywhere, and the next, she is gone. Did she die? Was she exiled? Did she take on a new name and rule as a mysterious co-regent named Smenkhkare? History goes silent, leaving one of its most tantalizingly blank pages. To understand the shock of this, you have to remember her sheer omnipresence. For 12 years, Nefertiti has not just been your wife. She has been the co-CEO of your entire religious enterprise. Her face, in that iconic blue crown, is on everything. She is the brand. Her partnership with you is the central pillar of the new theology. And then, somewhere around 1338 BC, the brand is discontinued. The images stop. Inscriptions that once mentioned her are sometimes replaced with the name of your eldest daughter, Akhenaten, who is hastily married to a mysterious figure named Smenkhkare. It's the ancient equivalent of the co-founder and public face of a global corporation being scrubbed from the company website overnight, with no press release, no explanation, just a 404 error where her biography used to be. So, what happened? Historians, archaeologists, and assorted obsessives have been debating this for a century, and the theories are as compelling as they are contradictory. The first and simplest theory is that she died. A devastating plague is known to have swept through Egypt and the Near East during this period. Perhaps the Great Queen, the Beautiful One, simply fell victim to a common earthly disease. It's a mundane and tragic explanation. It's the quiet, anticlimactic final episode of a show that seemed destined for a spectacular finale. It's possible that the greatest mystery of your reign has the simplest, saddest answer. The second, more dramatic theory is that she fell from grace. Did you, the ultimate power couple, have a falling out? Did she disagree with the direction your revolution was taking? Was the persecution of the old gods a step too far for her, or perhaps not far enough? In this version of the story, you exile your brilliant wife to a northern palace in Akhenaten, and she lives out her days in splendid isolation. It's the conscious uncoupling of the Bronze Age's premier celebrity couple, a breakup that shakes the very foundations of the state. But the third and most audacious theory is the one that really captures the imagination. This theory proposes that Nefertiti did not disappear at all. Instead, she transcended. To secure her power and the future of the Atenist faith, she adopted a new male identity. She became the mysterious co-regent who appears late in your reign, Ankheperur Smenkhkare. She didn't fall from power. She leveled up, taking on the full titulary of a king to rule alongside you, and perhaps even after you. This is a plot twist of magnificent proportions, the queen faking her own political death to re-emerge as a mysterious new king to secure the throne. The evidence for any of these is maddeningly scarce and often contradictory. Names on funerary objects are recarved. Figures in art are subtly altered. The historical record itself seems to be deliberately hiding the truth. The silence is deafening. The most visible woman in the world, a queen whose face is still a global icon 3,000 years later, managed to perform the greatest disappearing act in history. Her final and most brilliant trick was not just achieving unprecedented power, but completely mastering the art of the perfect and permanent Irish exit. As your reign nears its end, things get murky. A new figure appears, a co-regent named Smenkhkare, who rules alongside you for a very short time before you both disappear. Was this Nefertiti in disguise? A brother? One of your daughters promoted to an impossibly high rank? No one is quite sure. It's the chaotic final season of a show where the writers were clearly running out of ideas and just started throwing twists at the wall. The golden age of your revolution is over. The utopian dream of Akhenaten, your perfect city in the sand, is beginning to show cracks. A plague has thinned the population. Your foreign empire is crumbling from neglect, and the initial blazing certainty of your faith may be starting to cool. The atmosphere in the city is no longer one of revolutionary zeal, but of quiet, paranoid isolation. And into this strange, tense twilight, a new character is introduced with almost no explanation. His name is Smenkhkare. He doesn't arrive with a grand public announcement. He just appears. His name starts showing up on official documents, most notably on the dockets of wine jars from the royal estate. It's the ancient equivalent of a new, unknown executive suddenly co-signing company-wide memos. The court must have been buzzing with whispers. Who is this person? Where did he come from? And what does his sudden promotion to co-ruler mean for everyone else? His very name is a hint that things are changing. Smenkhkare, meaning vigorous is the soul of Ra. The inclusion of the name of the old sun god, Ra, is the first tentative step back from the brink of your absolute Aten-only monotheism. It's like a tech company that went all in on a radical new operating system, suddenly issuing a patch that quietly reintroduces a popular feature from their old, discontinued software. It's a subtle admission that perhaps the total revolution was a little too total. The identity of this historical cameo remains one of Egyptology's greatest puzzles. Was it Nefertiti, in her final and most audacious power play, adopting a male persona to secure the throne? Was it a younger brother you'd kept in the background? Or perhaps a son from a lesser wife, brought forward in a moment of crisis? Some of the most compelling evidence comes, ironically, from the tomb of your eventual successor, Tutankhamun. A significant portion of his magnificent golden burial equipment, including one of his coffins and his famous canopic shrine, was clearly originally made for Smenkhkare and hastily repurposed for the boy king. It's like trying to understand a failed corporate merger by examining the office supplies that were repurposed after the company went under. Smenkhkare's time on the throne is fleeting, perhaps only a year or two. He appears, he is briefly married to your eldest daughter, Akhenaten, and then, just as you yourself exit the historical stage, he vanishes. There is no record of his death, no known tomb. He is a historical ghost, a loose plot thread in a story that is already unraveling. His brief, confusing reign is the cliffhanger at the end of a show that gets abruptly cancelled, leaving audiences to argue about what it all meant for the next 3,000 years, and leaving behind a throne that is suddenly, terrifyingly empty. After 17 years of radical, disruptive, and paradigm-shifting rule, you die. Your city, Akhenaten, is left in a state of uncertainty. And who is chosen to pick up the pieces of your shattered religious experiment? A 9-year-old boy. His name is Tutankhaten, the living image of the Aten, the old guard. The priests and generals who have been waiting patiently in the wings see their opportunity. This child is their puppet. Your death creates a power vacuum of epic proportions. The entire system you created was built around a single, central point of failure. You were the sole prophet, the only connection to the divine. With you gone, your utopian city in the desert is suddenly just a city in the desert. The great temples to the Aten are still gleaming in the sun, but the divine signal has been lost. The phone line to heaven has gone dead. A quiet, creeping panic begins to filter through the grand villas and workers' villages of Akhenaten. The grand experiment is over, and everyone is wondering what happens next. What happens next are two very patient, very powerful, and very traditional old men. In the wings, the survivors of the old regime have been waiting. There is I, the veteran courtier and advisor, a man who managed to thrive in your radical court, while never quite seeming to be a true believer. He may have even been Nefertiti's father. He is the ultimate political insider. And then there is Horemheb, the commander-in-chief of the army, a tough, pragmatic general who has watched with growing frustration as you neglected the empire in favor of your theological daydreams. These two men represent the old pillars of Egyptian power, the civil bureaucracy and the military, and they see their chance. They need a legitimate pharaoh to restore the old ways, but they also need one who won't have any radical ideas of his own. And there, in the royal nursery, is the perfect candidate. A young boy, probably your son by a lesser wife, whose very name is a tribute to your heresy. Tutankhaten. Imagine it from his perspective. You are 9 years old. Your father, the strange, otherworldly king, is dead. You are living in a weird, isolated city, dedicated to a god nobody else seems to worship anymore. And now, these two very serious old men are kneeling before you, calling you the Lord of the Two Lands, the Horus in the nest. They are handing you the crook and the flail, the symbols of kingship, but your hands are too small to hold them properly. You have just been named the new CEO of the world's largest and most powerful corporation, and your first order of business is to attend a very long, very boring board meeting where you will be told how you are going to systematically dismantle everything your father ever built. It is a brilliant and cynical political move. A child king is a blank slate. He has no power base, no political allies of his own, and a deep-seated instinct to do what the adults in the room tell him to do. He is the perfect, unimpeachable front for a complete and total counter-revolution. He is a living, breathing symbol of dynastic continuity, whose sole purpose is to provide a legitimate face for the systematic erasure of the very god he is named after. The cleanup crew is in place. Their first job: get out of this weird desert city and change the name on the new CEO's office door. The counter-reformation begins almost immediately. The first order of business for the new regime is to get out of your weird desert city. The royal court abandons Akhenaten and moves back to Thebes. The second order of business is another rebranding. The boy king, Tutankhaten, has his name changed to Tutankhamun, the living image of Amun. The message is clear. The old management is back in charge. The dismantling of your dream is not a chaotic collapse. It is a calm, orderly, and ruthlessly efficient corporate restructuring. The first and most symbolic act is the great exodus from Akhenaten. Imagine the scene. The wide, sun-baked avenues of your perfect city, once bustling with the architects of a new world, are now filled with the somber procession of a court in retreat. Nobles pack their fine linens, scribes crate up their papyrus rolls, and servants load carts with the trappings of a government performing the ultimate walk of shame. The great open-air temples to the Aten, built to last for eternity, are left to the wind and the sand. It is a city built as the perpetual center of the universe, and it lasted less than a single generation. The return to Thebes is a public spectacle of restoration. As the royal barges carrying the boy king and his court approach the old capital, the priests of Amun, so recently unemployed and persecuted, must have felt a profound sense of vindication. The city, so long neglected, roars back to life. The familiar scent of heavy, sacred incense once again billows from the temple gates. The old rituals are reinstated. The old holidays are put back on the calendar. Egypt is being rebooted, and it is reverting to its last stable version. The brief, strange, sun-drenched fever, dream of your reign, is over. Next comes the all-important public relations campaign. The new management needs to signal to the market and to the gods that the period of risky innovation is over. Your chosen successor, the boy king, is a living, breathing piece of your legacy, right down to his name. This must be corrected. At the firm but gentle suggestion of his advisors, I and Horemheb, Tutankhaten issues a royal decree. He is now Tutankhamun. It is a public bending of the knee, an official surrender. The boy king has symbolically renounced his father's god and pledged his allegiance to the old corporate structure. This is all laid out in a fascinating piece of propaganda known as the Restoration Stele. In this official inscription, the new regime details the results of your time in charge. It describes a land in ruins, where the temples of the gods and goddesses had fallen into decay, and the country was upside down. It is the ancient equivalent of an open letter from the new CEO, detailing the catastrophic mismanagement of the previous leadership and promising to restore the company to its former glory. It is a masterclass in political messaging, carefully painting you as a heretic and a fool, and the new boy king as the righteous savior of the nation. The great undo is complete. Now, the great erasure can begin. Your memory now becomes the state's greatest enemy. It is not enough that you are dead. You must have never existed. The pharaohs who follow, particularly Horemheb, and the rulers of the 19th dynasty, like Seti I and Rameses II, launch a systematic campaign of erasure. Your name is chiseled from king lists. Your temples are dismantled, their blocks used as filler for other buildings. Your desert city is abandoned to the sands. You are no longer Akhenaten. You are simply the enemy, or that criminal of Akhenaten. The undoing of your works is not enough. The old order requires more than just a restoration. It requires a retroactive purification. Your 17-year reign is now officially classified as a blasphemous interruption, a glitch in the matrix of divine order, or Ma'at. And the man to lead the debugging effort is your own former general, Horemheb. After the brief reigns of Tutankhamun and I, he takes the throne himself, and his top priority is to make Egypt great again by ensuring the world forgets you ever existed. This is damnatio memoriae, the damnation of memory, on an industrial scale. It is a slow, patient, and terrifyingly thorough campaign. Squads of stonemasons are once again dispatched across the land, but their task is no longer just to erase the name of Amun. Their task is to erase you. They hunt for your cartouche, the sacred oval containing your name, and meticulously grind it from every temple wall, every statue, every monument. It is the ancient equivalent of a hostile state trying to scrub a person from the internet, deleting their Wikipedia page, their social media profiles, and then sending out a virus to find and corrupt every file that ever mentioned their name. Your beautiful, sun-drenched temples, both in your abandoned city and at Thebes, suffer the ultimate humiliation. They are declared to be quarries. They are systematically dismantled, block by block. But these standardized blocks, which archaeologists now call talatat, are too useful to just throw away. So, in a stroke of posthumous insult, they are used as worthless internal filler for the massive new temple pylons Horemheb and his successors build to honor Amun-Ra. It's the architectural equivalent of a rival company buying your innovative and beautiful headquarters, demolishing it, and using the crushed-up rubble as foundation for their new parking garage. Your sacred spaces, the physical embodiment of your faith, literally become the hidden guts of your enemies' monuments. The final step is to edit the master copy of history itself. On the official king lists carved in the great temples at Abydos and Saqqara, your name and the names of your immediate successors, Smenkhkare, Tutankhamun, and A, are completely omitted. The official state-sanctioned timeline of the 18th dynasty now reads that the great Amenhotep III was succeeded directly by Horemheb. 30 years of history, your entire controversial and chaotic era, are deleted with a few strokes of a master scribe's brush. You have been officially deplatformed from the server of history. For all intents and purposes, the campaign is a stunning success. For the next 3,000 years, the world almost completely forgets you. You are a ghost, a whisper, a footnote in a minor heresy. They have achieved the impossible. They have cancelled a king. Your grand capital, a bustling metropolis built in a decade, empties out as quickly as it was filled. The wind blows sand through the empty palaces and workshops. The city sleeps, its secrets preserved beneath the dunes. By being so thoroughly abandoned and forgotten, it becomes an accidental time capsule of your reign, a pristine archaeological site waiting for a future that has no idea it even exists. The Exodus is a strange and melancholy affair. A city that was willed into existence by the force of a single mind is now being unwilled by the cautious pragmatism of his successors. Carts are loaded, barges are filled, and the great royal road, once the vibrant artery of your revolution, sees its final procession. The population drains away, leaving behind a city that is eerily intact. In the workshops of the sculptors, unfinished statues and practice carvings are left on the floor. In the Foreign Office, hundreds of clay tablets, your unread diplomatic emails, are left in their archives. In the workers' village, cooking pots, tools, and children's toys are simply left behind. The city is not destroyed. It is simply switched off. Then the desert, the patient, eternal sea of sand, begins its work of reclamation. The wind, which was once a cooling breeze through the open colonnades of your temples, now becomes a tireless janitor, sweeping sand into every corner. It whispers through the empty halls of the great palace and hisses across the painted floors of the northern villas. The vibrant frescoes depicting your family life are gently scoured by dust, then covered by it. Dunes, like slow, silent waves, begin to creep over the low walls of the houses, then the temples, then the palaces themselves. The desert is nature's own archivist, placing your entire failed utopia into a protective file, zipping it shut, and burying it under 3 millennia of impenetrable silence. Here lies the supreme and beautiful irony of your legacy. Other great Egyptian cities like Thebes or Memphis were never truly lost. They were lived in for thousands of years, their temples torn down for building materials, their palaces built over by Roman, then Coptic, then Islamic towns. They are a chaotic jumble of layers, a document that has been written and erased and rewritten 1,000 times. But your Akhenaten, by virtue of being so hated, so heretical, so thoroughly cancelled, was left completely alone. Its status as a cursed place was the greatest preservation order it could have ever received. No one came back to loot its stones. No one built a new village on its foundations. Everyone just agreed to pretend it wasn't there. Your enemies, in their fervent desire to erase you, accidentally became the most dedicated curators of your memory. They created the perfect laboratory conditions for future archaeology. They didn't just give you a footnote in history. They preserved the entire library. This abandoned ghost town is not a ruin. It is a snapshot. It is Pompeii, but without the volcano. A moment in time, a complete vision of your strange and singular world, just waiting for the shovels of a distant future to brush away the sand and let the sun, your eternal God, shine on it once more. The world remembers Tutankhamun, the boy king with the golden mask, but the name Akhenaten is lost to all but the dust. The first clues to your existence emerge in the 19th century, when archaeologists exploring the Valley of the Kings stumble upon a strange tomb, KV 55. Inside, they find a jumble of funerary equipment from the Amarna period, and a single, desecrated coffin containing a mysterious male mummy. The name cartouches on the coffin have been hacked away. For 3,000 years, the plan worked. You were a ghost. But history, like nature, abhors a vacuum. By the turn of the 20th century, the Valley of the Kings, the sacred necropolis of your ancestors, is buzzing with European archaeologists. They believe the valley has given up all its major secrets. But in 1907, an excavator named Edward Ayrton, working for the American millionaire Theodore Davis, uncovers a small, unassuming, and very strange tomb. It isn't a grand royal burial chamber. It's more like a historical junk drawer, a hastily sealed storage locker for a past that someone wanted to forget. The scene inside is one of chaotic disposal. This was not a respectful burial. It was a dumping ground. There is a magnificent gilded shrine, but it was made for your mother, the great Queen Tai. There are beautiful alabaster canopic jars, but they seem to have been intended for your secondary wife, Kia. And in the center of the room is a single royal-style coffin, but it has been subjected to a unique and vicious form of vandalism. The golden face mask that once adorned it has been violently torn away. And where your name should have been, proudly displayed in its sacred cartouche, there is only a hacked-out, empty space. This wasn't just a robbery for gold. This was a targeted assassination of an eternal soul. In ancient Egyptian belief, to erase the name of the dead is to destroy them in the afterlife. This tomb is a cold case file for a theological murder. The central mystery, of course, was the body inside this defaced coffin. For a century, the mummy of KV-55 became one of the most hotly debated subjects in Egyptology. Was it you, the heretic king? Was it your mysterious successor, Smenkhkare? The bones were studied, measured, and argued over, but the evidence remained inconclusive. Your enemies had done their job almost too well. They had stripped you of your name and your face, leaving behind only an anonymous skeleton in a vandalized box. They had tried to delete you from the hard drive of history, and they had nearly succeeded. But they didn't count on a future they couldn't possibly imagine. In 2010, the full power of modern genetic science was brought to bear on the case. DNA was extracted from the skeleton in KV-45 and compared to the known DNA of your father, Amenhotep III, your mother, Queen T, and your son, Tutankhamun. The results were conclusive. The nameless mummy was the son of Amenhotep and Tiye, and the father of Tutankhamun. The anonymous man in the box was you. Your enemies went to extraordinary lengths to ensure you would never be identified, but in their haste to hide your body, they accidentally created the perfect time capsule, preserving the very biological evidence that would, 3,300 years later, give you back your name. The greatest clues to your story come not from a grand monument, but from thousands of them. Archaeologists begin discovering that the giant temple pylons, built by Horemheb and Rameses II, are filled with smaller, standardized stone blocks from an earlier time. These blocks, called talatat, are the recycled remains of your sun temples from Karnak and your city of Akhenaten. Piece by piece, like the world's most complicated and historically significant jigsaw puzzle, your forgotten reign is reassembled. Here we find perhaps the most exquisite irony in your entire posthumous existence. To build your holy city and your temples with revolutionary speed, you standardized your building materials. You created these relatively small, manageable sandstone blocks, the talatat, that could be carved in a workshop and then assembled on site. It was the ancient world's first experiment in prefabricated construction. This innovation allowed you to build a city in a decade. It also, unfortunately, made your magnificent temples incredibly easy to take apart, like a giant Lego set. When Horemheb and the Ramesside pharaohs began their own colossal building projects at Karnak, they needed a massive amount of internal fill for their gigantic pylons and walls. And right there, conveniently located, were your now deconsecrated temples, a pre-cut, perfectly sized quarry of heretical stone. So, they dismantled your life's work, and in a final act of desecration, they used the painted and carved blocks of your sacred Aten temples as common rubble, hiding them away forever in the dark, inaccessible guts of their own monuments to Amun-Ra. For thousands of years, the secret was kept. But in the 20th century, as these later pylons began to weaken, restoration work began. And when the engineers and archaeologists drilled into the core of these structures, they didn't just find rubble. They found a library that had been shredded and used as stuffing. Tens of thousands of your Talatat blocks, each one a fragment of a lost world, a single piece of a puzzle for which the picture on the box had been destroyed. Imagine the scene. A vast, sun-scorched field next to the temple of Karnak, laid out with thousands upon thousands of these small, decorated blocks. It is the world's most daunting jigsaw puzzle. Archaeologists walk the rows, trying to find two blocks that fit together. A piece of a long, slender finger here, a sliver of a sun's ray there, half of a hieroglyph that might spell your name, or Nefertiti's. Slowly, painstakingly, over decades, scenes begin to emerge from the chaos. A vibrant festival in honor of the Aten, a procession of your daughters, an image of you and Nefertiti in a style even more radical and strange than what was known from Akhenaten. Horemheb, in his calculated effort to bury you, became your accidental archivist. He thought he was using your legacy as landfill, but he was actually placing it in the most secure vault in Egypt, the heart of his own temple. It is the perfect historical twist. The deleted files weren't actually deleted. They were just moved to the recycling bin. And modern archaeology was the data recovery software that could finally piece them back together again. In 1887, a local woman digging for fertilizer near the ruins of your city uncovers a cache of over 300 clay tablets. They are not religious texts, but the entire diplomatic archive of your father's reign and your own. Written in Akkadian cuneiform, the international language of the day, they are letters from the kings of Babylon, Assyria, Mitanni, and desperate Canaanite vassals. They paint a vivid picture of international politics and of a pharaoh who was perhaps too lost in his own world to manage the one outside. The discovery itself is a perfect little piece of historical absurdity. This priceless archive, this raw, unfiltered window into the minds of Bronze Age kings and emperors, wasn't found by a team of tweed-clad archaeologists in a grand temple. It was found by a local peasant woman digging for sebak, compost made from ancient, decomposed mud brick. Her shovel hit something hard, and she unearthed a collection of strange, inscribed clay bricks. Unaware of their importance, she sold them for a pittance. Some were broken, some were lost. It's the ancient equivalent of finding a dusty, forgotten server in an abandoned barn, only to discover it contains the entire unredacted email server of a lost government administration. Once scholars got their hands on them, they realized what they had. This wasn't Egyptian hieroglyphics. This was Akkadian cuneiform, the universal language of power and diplomacy, the English of its day. And these weren't glorious historical records written for posterity. This was the private and often petty correspondence between the great powers. This was the messy, behind-the-scenes reality of international relations. You have the king of Babylon complaining to you that you haven't sent his daughter, your new wife, a proper escort. You have the king of Mitanni complaining about the quality of gold you sent him, passive-aggressively noting that when it was melted down, it didn't look like much. It is the G7 summit, but in raw, unfiltered, and deeply gossipy text messages. Then there is the other side of the archive, the desperate pleas from your vassal states in the Levant. This is the unread inbox from hell, letter after letter from men like Ribhada, the perpetually panicked ruler of Byblos, essentially screaming into the void. To the king, my lord, my son, why have you neglected your servant, he writes, before detailing the latest siege or betrayal. Reading the letters in sequence is like watching a slow-motion catastrophe unfold through an increasingly frantic series of unanswered emails. You can almost feel his despair as he realizes that the great Egyptian superpower has left him on red. Together, these tablets form a devastating portrait of your reign. The letters to your father, Amenhotep III, show a system that worked. He was engaged, respected, feared. The letters to you, Akhenaten, show a system breaking down. You are the ghost in the machine of your own empire. While you were looking inward, creating a perfect, sun-drenched universe for yourself, the rest of the world kept sending messages. And here they are, meticulously filed away in your abandoned foreign office. The most comprehensive and damning performance review any leader has ever received, accidentally preserved for a future that would be very interested in reading your mail. In 1912, in the workshop of your royal sculptor Thutmose, a German archaeological team makes one of the most iconic finds in history. Buried upside down in the sand is a painted limestone bust of your wife, Nefertiti. It is a portrait of such breathtaking beauty and serene power that it instantly becomes a global sensation. The face of your forgotten queen becomes more famous than those of the pharaohs who tried to erase you both. The setting for this discovery is what makes it so perfect. The bust is not found in a grand tomb or a holy temple. It is found in the ruins of a private workshop, the studio of a master craftsman named Thutmose. Finding his workshop is like stumbling into the abandoned studio of a Renaissance master. It is a space of creation, littered with practice pieces, unfinished statues, and plaster casts of royal faces. It is a behind-the-scenes look at the propaganda factory that produced the unique look of your revolution. And on a dusty storeroom shelf, amidst the rubble of a collapsed wall, lay the masterpiece. Imagine the moment. A hot, dusty day in the Egyptian desert. A German archaeologist, Ludwig Borchardt, is supervising the excavation. A workman's tool uncovers a flash of color. They carefully brush away the sand and debris, revealing a slender neck and the edge of a vibrant blue crown. The piece is lifted from the earth and turned over. For the first time in over 3,000 years, a human eye looks upon the serene, impossibly beautiful face of Nefertiti. Borchardt is so stunned that his diary entry for the day is a masterpiece of academic understatement. Description is useless, he wrote, must be seen. The bust is a marvel of art and personality, carved from limestone and covered in a layer of painted stucco. It is not a remote, idealized goddess. It is a woman. Her expression is calm, confident, and almost modern in its subtle realism. And then there is the famous detail, the missing left eye. It was never inlaid. Was it a teaching model for Thutmose's students, showing how the eyes were to be set? Did it fall out and get lost? Or was it a deliberate choice, an artistic statement? Whatever the reason, this one imperfection only adds to the mystique. The bust was likely a master model, a three-dimensional reference portrait for the workshop to use when creating other official statues and reliefs. It was never meant for public display. It was an artist's tool. And that is perhaps why it feels so intensely personal and alive. When it was finally revealed to the world, the effect was electric. Nefertiti became an overnight sensation 3,300 years after her death. Her face graced the covers of magazines. She became a global icon of beauty and enigmatic power, the Mona Lisa of the ancient world. Here lies the final, crushing irony for your enemies. Horemheb and Rameses the Great built colossal temples and statues to ensure their own immortality. They are remembered by specialists. Nefertiti, your cancelled queen, is recognized by millions. They meticulously chiseled your names from stone, but they missed one perfect face, buried upside down in a forgotten artist's studio, that would end up being more famous and more permanent than all of their monuments combined. Now that you have been rediscovered, the world doesn't know what to make of you. Were you a visionary genius, the world's first monotheist, a philosopher king born thousands of years too early? Or were you an obsessive, autocratic madman, a fanatic who plunged his country into chaos for the sake of a theological obsession, neglecting his people and his empire? The debate rages, and your strange, elongated face has become a canvas onto which we project our own ideas about faith, power, and revolution. On one side of the ledger, you are presented as one of history's great trailblazers. You are the visionary, the proto-prophet. In this reading, you are the first person in recorded history to conceive of a single, universal, benevolent creator God. Your great hymn to the Aten is presented as a masterpiece of devotional literature, a precursor to the Psalms. Your artistic revolution is seen as a brave leap into expressionism and naturalism, freeing art from the stiff, impersonal shackles of tradition. You are the Steve Jobs of the Bronze Age, a brilliant, uncompromising disruptor who saw a different future and tried to drag the rest of the world, kicking and screaming, into it. You were a true believer, a man who sacrificed everything, stability, empire, and ultimately his own legacy, for a beautiful, unifying idea. But on the other side of that same ledger, the assessment is far more brutal. In this view, you are the madman, the cult leader. Your monotheism was not a gentle philosophy. It was a state-enforced dogma, imposed on an unwilling population with the full, violent force of the state. You didn't just promote the Aten, you persecuted and erased all other gods, a deeply traumatic act for a profoundly pious and conservative society. You were a reckless CEO who, in the grip of a personal obsession, abandoned your company's core business, managing the empire, to pursue a vanity project. The Amarna letters are Exhibit A in the case for your negligence. While you were composing poetry, your empire was on fire, and you refused to even answer the mail. For the last century, your ghost has been a battleground for modern ideas. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, was fascinated by you, speculating that you were the true origin of monotheism, a direct influence on the biblical Moses. Others have seen in you the prototype of the dangerous, charismatic autocrat, a chilling lesson in the dangers of absolute power combined with absolute certainty. Your strange, androgynous body in art has made you an icon for those questioning traditional gender roles. Your elongated face has become a Rorschach test. What we see in it says more about us than it does about you. So, which is it? Were you a saint or a heretic? A genius or a fool? The truth, in all its frustrating ambiguity, is that you were likely all of the above. You were a man with a visionary, perhaps even beautiful idea, but you were also an absolute monarch with the power to enforce that vision through autocratic, intolerant, and ultimately destructive means. The tragedy of your reign is that the purity of your idea was corrupted by the impurity of your methods. You left behind a historical and theological mess so fascinating, so complex, that 3,000 years later, we are still trying and failing to neatly sort it all out. Here is the ultimate irony. The pharaohs who so meticulously tried to erase you, Horemheb, Seti I, Rameses the Great, are now, for many, footnotes in your story. Your heresy, your strange art, your beautiful wife, and your famous son have made you one of the most compelling and recognizable figures from all of ancient history. In their desperate attempt to cancel you, they made you immortal. History, it seems, has a profoundly dry sense of humor. Consider the men who undid your work. Horemheb, the general who restored order. Seti I, the great builder who began the process of healing the nation. His son, Rameses II, the Great, the quintessential pharaoh, who ruled for an astonishing 67 years, built more colossal monuments than perhaps anyone in history, and is remembered as one of Egypt's most powerful kings. By every conceivable metric of their own time, they were the winners. They successfully restored the old gods, stabilized the empire, and wrote you out of the history books. They won, and yet, ask anyone today to name a figure from ancient Egypt. They will likely say, Tutankhamun, your son. Ask for another, and they may say, Nefertiti, your wife. And if they know anything of the story, they will know of you, the mysterious heretic king who started it all. Your failure is infinitely more fascinating to the modern world than their success. Your strange, brief, chaotic reign has become the subject of countless books, documentaries, and endless debate, while their long, stable, and successful reigns are often just the chapter that comes after. This is your posthumous revenge, a victory played out over 3 millennia. Your enemies enacted the world's first and most ambitious case of cancel culture, and in doing so, they triggered the world's first and most profound Streisand effect. Their frantic attempt to hide you, to create a silent, empty space where you used to be, had the completely unintended consequence of making that empty space the most interesting mystery in Egyptian history. Every act they took to destroy you accidentally preserved you. They cursed and abandoned your city, so it was never built over, becoming a perfect time capsule. They dismantled your temples and used them as rubble, accidentally creating a giant jigsaw puzzle for future archaeologists to reassemble. They dumped your desecrated coffin in a secret, unmarked tomb, accidentally preserving the very DNA that would one day give you back your name. They were your unintentional curators, your accidental librarians. Their hatred was the greatest archival tool you could have ever wished for. They succeeded in erasing you from their world. For thousands of years, the silence they imposed was nearly total. But they never imagined a world with archaeology, with genetics, with a global curiosity for strange and brilliant failures. They won the battle for their own history. But you, the heretic, the criminal of Akhenaten, won the long, silent war for ours. And so, our journey through the sun-drenched sands and cosmic grudges comes to a close. We have walked the streets of a ghost city, listened to the frantic pleas in a dead king's unread mail, and watched a man try to single-handedly redesign heaven. It is the story of a king who stared so intently at the sun that he was blinded to the world in shadow. A revolution born in a flash of divine light and extinguished with the patient scraping of 1,000 chisels. A perfectly absurd and epic drama played out on the stage of eternity. There is a strange resilience in these ancient ghosts, isn't there? In the heretic king, whose story survived because of how violently it was attacked. In the beautiful queen, whose face became an immortal icon because it was found by accident in a dusty, forgotten workshop. They left behind a story so compelling in its failure that it has long outlasted the mundane successes of their enemies. It is something to ponder in the quiet comfort of your own time. Perhaps be grateful that your own legacy is a little more secure, that your most regrettable online posts will eventually be buried by the algorithm, not meticulously chiseled off a 5-ton block of granite by your successor. The great struggles of pharaohs and the whispers of forgotten gods are now just echoes. The sun has set over the cliffs of Amarna. Let the noise of ancient history fade, and the grand dramas dissolve into dreams. There are no empires to manage tonight, no heresies to begin or end. There is only the quiet of your room and the soft darkness inviting you to rest. Until next time, sleep well.
Subscribe to Ancient Absurdity.